When you think about the very start of civilization, I'm talking the first cities, the first laws, even the first time anyone wrote anything down, it all points back to this one group of people. Seriously, they basically laid the foundation for, well, almost everything that came after. So today we're going to dig into the incredible story of the Sumerians. So, where does a story that huge even begin? It's a question that's going to take us back, way back, thousands of years, right to the very dawn of recorded history. Okay, so our story kicks off in a place you've probably heard of in history class, the Fertile Crescent, and we're zooming in on a specific spot called Mesopotamia. This, right here, is where the world's very first civilization decided to set up shop. All right, so here's the lowdown. We are talking about a civilization that was around for 3,000 years. That is an insane amount of time. They were located in what we now call southern Iraq. And why do we care? Well, their significance is just monumental. They are, quite simply, the earliest civilization we know of, period. And here's a really cool little detail. The name Sumerian, that's actually what we call them. It's not what they called themselves. They were the black-headed people. It's such a small thing, but it just makes them feel so much more real, doesn't it? It's like we're getting a little peek into how they actually saw themselves. So how did they pull all this off? How did they build their entire world? Well, from their most complex ideas to their most sacred beliefs, pretty much everything was shaped by one single material, the very earth right under their feet. It all really starts here, with this, cuneiform. I mean, this is the beginning of writing. Full stop. The Sumerians came up with this incredible system to keep track of absolutely everything. We're talking business deals, laws, even epic stories. For the very first time in human history, history itself could actually be written down. Okay, so think about this for a second. On one hand, you've got the world's first system for writing down complex ideas, and on the other, you've got the world's first massive temples built to honor the gods. What in the world could possibly connect those two things, writing and temples? Well, the answer is just brilliantly simple. Clay. Or, mud. They pressed their cuneiform writing into wet clay tablets, and they built their gigantic temples out of, you guessed it, mass-produced mud bricks. Just stop and think about that for a second. Their greatest intellectual achievement and their greatest architectural achievement came from the exact same humble stuff. And this total mastery of mud and clay, well, it leads us directly to their most iconic structures. These massive monuments that were literally designed to be stairways connecting the earth to the heavens. Right, these things are called ziggurats. But you gotta understand, they weren't just buildings. They were basically man-made mountains. Each one was this huge stepped tower, built layer by layer, with a sacred shrine way up at the top. The whole point was to create a symbolic bridge between us down here and the gods up there. And of all the ziggurats they built, there's one that really stands out. It's the most famous, the best preserved. It's the Great Ziggurat of Ur. This thing is the ultimate example of what the Sumerians could do with a little mud and a whole lot of ambition. So let's break this down real quick. It was built way back around 2100 BC by a king named Ur-Nammu. Its main job was to be a huge religious center, and it was dedicated to the moon god, Nana. I mean, just the scale of this project tells you that this was a seriously organized society. So what would you even be looking at? Well, picture this. 3 enormous layers, or terraces, stacked one on top of the other, all made of mud bricks. Then there's this huge grand staircase right up the middle, leading you all the way to the top. And up there, at the very summit, that's where the most sacred shrine would have been. It was a literal, physical journey upwards towards the heavens. And don't think for a second this was just a pile of bricks. The precision is absolutely mind-blowing. The 4 corners of the ziggurat are lined up almost perfectly with north, south, east, and west. So this wasn't just a temple. It was a symbol of cosmic order. It was their way of grounding their entire civilization in the universe itself. And this quote just captures the essence of it perfectly. It was a primary religious center, sure, but more than that, it was a symbolic link between heaven and earth. It was the absolute heart of their spiritual world. So when you boil it all down, the Sumerians took the most basic, humble material you can imagine, mud, and from it, they built an entire civilization. Everything from how they wrote down their ideas to how they tried to reach the heavens. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What are the basic materials, the mud and clay, that we're using to build our legacy today? And what on earth will that legacy say about us 4,000 years from now?